New tonight, the community comes together to help an NOPD officer shot in the line of duty. Model turned alleged felon Dean Kelly is back in the headlines after prosecutors say he went back to his old ways.
It's not as cold as last night, so does that mean it's going to warm up for your holiday weekend? I'll let you know if you should plan on Easter showers.
And planning to eat crawfish tomorrow on Good Friday? Well, you also better plan on shelling out more cash.
Live from the French Quarter, this is Eyewitness News at 10.
Tonight, New Orleans police are looking for clues after a shooting near Criminal Court at Tulane and Broad. Investigators say an unidentified man was sitting inside a white SUV when a gunman opened fire. The man was shot several times and taken to the hospital. No word on his condition. The NOPD is also looking for a gunman behind a double shooting in the 7th Ward. That also happened at around 8 o'clock tonight. According to investigators, a man and a woman were shot at that location. Both were taken to the hospital and are expected to survive. Good evening, I'm Karen Swenson. Dennis is off tonight. The community continues to rally around an NOPD officer still hospitalized after being shot in the line of duty. As Tanya Dahl shows us, a fundraiser was held tonight in Venetian Isles for Officer John Passero.
We've been praying for him, hoping that he's going to do okay.
Prayers, well wishes, and heaping plates of crawfish filled High Tide Bar tonight. On everyone's minds, helping NOPD officer John Passero.
I have a son that is a policeman also, and he is in the same district, and it's just something that hits real close to home.
Officer Passero remains hospitalized and in critical condition after responding to an armed robbery inside this Bywater Dollar General store in February. The gunman, who is still at large, shot Passero several times. Detective Sergeant Troy Williams organized tonight's event.
Every little bit helps. I'm sure he's going to have financial difficulties for the rest of his life. And I figure whatever we could do to help would be great.
New Orleans resident and volunteer firefighter Brian Nunez joined hundreds of others tonight wanting to do just that, help.
These people are putting their lives on the line every day, especially with the situation in the city of New Orleans. You want to come together and support the police officers.
Publicized around the neighborhood a lot, and so everybody's coming out from our neighborhood to support him.
They're out there protecting us, and we need to give back. When something like this really happens, it's a tragedy.
The New Orleans Police Department is hosting another fundraiser for Officer Passero on April 17th at Generations Hall. Organizers say all of the donations go towards Passero's unpaid medical expenses and loss of income. For more information, visit us at WWLTV.com.
Thank you, Tanya. Instead of finalizing a plea bargain as expected, prosecutors are now accusing ex-model Dean Kelly of the same predatory activities that landed him in court 2 years ago. Kelly was in court today for an update on plea negotiations when the DA's office filed a surprise motion to revoke Kelly's $1 million bond. Kelly's attorney, Frank DeSalvo, said he was blindsided when prosecutors accused his client of hosting college-age girls at a Mardi Gras party in which he allegedly gave them alcohol, got their cell phone numbers, and then sent suggestive text messages. Kelly, who already faces charges of forcible rape and kidnapping, is scheduled to be back in court on April 9th to answer the new allegations. Jefferson Parish detectives have arrested a trio of alleged armed robbers wanted for a string of recent holdups in Jefferson and St. John parishes. 18-year-old Christian Hernandez and 19-year-old Leonardo Morales from Metairie and 21-year-old Kevin Rivas from Laplace are charged with armed robbery. The three are accused of robbing several people between late February and early March on both the east and west banks of Jefferson Parish and in St. John Parish. In at least one case, two of the suspects allegedly shot and wounded a victim. Hernandez and Rivas face attempted second-degree murder charges as well. Deputies say the victims' descriptions of the suspects and their car helped them crack the case. If a new rate increase is approved, Algiers residents could see a massive jump in their energy bills. Entergy is asking for a 42% increase for the monthly electric bills of more than 22,000 customers in Algiers. The proposed rate increase, if approved by the City Council, would be phased in over 3 years. Cynthia Hedge Morell, who chairs the City Council's Utility Committee, says the rate request will be reviewed and hearings will be held before a recommendation to the full council is made. A vote on the request is not expected until sometime next year. In Assumption Parish, work has come to a halt again at the site of that massive sinkhole near Bayou Corn. Officials made the decision after an access ramp to a well pad and more trees were swallowed up early this morning. Seismic monitors have been picked up fluid and gas moving beneath the surface, and at this point there's just no word on when work at that site will resume. Despite protests from some neighbors, Markey Park in the Bywater is now closed while crews work to upgrade the park. The move will eliminate what's become an unofficial dog park in the area, to the dismay of some neighbors. City officials say the project is expected to take about 90 days to complete. Well, it was just a beautiful day around the metro area, but if you're headed out tonight, you might want to grab a light jacket. And Derek, how's this weekend looking?
It looks a little bit warmer for the weekend.
Good.
Temperatures tonight are a little bit cool, but they're not nearly as bad as the last couple of nights. So it's not terrible out there right now. Temperatures are in the 50s all over the map here. You can see Metairie at about 54, Lakefront 60 degrees. Even north of the lake, we've dipped a bit. Slidell's now down to about 49 degrees. Bogalusa at 51. And cool conditions for Franklinton at 51 degrees and Kentwood at about 51 as well. Here's a look at that forecast for the Good Friday time frame. So this takes us through tomorrow, as temperatures are going to be in the 70s for the afternoon. High temperatures right near 74. Looks like a great Good Friday and a great Easter weekend. Karen will have more on the Easter weekend forecast coming up.
All right. Thanks, Derek. Well, speaking of Good Friday, for many Louisianians, Good Friday wouldn't be the same without crawfish. But you may be paying much more for mud bugs this year. Monica Hernandez tells us why.
For Jimmy Cantrell, there's nothing better than being on his Lafourche Parish crawfish farm.
It's heaven on earth just being out here.
But this year, the mud bugs are scarce.
This is the worst year in the last 15 or 20 years that I've been fishing.
Cantrell says normally ponds like this will be full of crawfish. This year, he says crawfish are down 80%.
The amount of crawfish we're catching is not even close to demands.
What accounts for the low catch? Crawfish farmers blame the recent cold snap and wet weather earlier this year.
If the water's too cold, they won't move, and also they'll bury themselves back in the ground.
The demand for crawfish increases as we approach Good Friday and Easter. Retailers say it's one of the busiest weekends of the year.
I probably have more sacks of live crawfish on order than I had probably in any of the last 10, 12 years.
So far, Big Fisherman Seafood in New Orleans has been able to keep up with the demand, selling more than 4,000 pounds of crawfish so far. But the owner says the cold snap means higher prices and often smaller mud bugs. Here, prices have spiked 75 cents a pound in the last few weeks to $2.99 a pound live and $4.59 boiled.
But as it warms up and the water warms up, we're going to see, I would say, at least $1, $1.25 a pound drop.
But cooler weather recently isn't just impacting crawfish. Shrimp, oysters, and crabs are also harder to come by.
The wind's been blowing. We haven't had crabs in about 10 days.
Meanwhile, fishermen like Cantrell are hopeful they will harvest more mud bugs once the weather warms up. Monica Hernandez, Eyewitness News.
President Obama is calling for changes to the nation's gun laws. Next at 10, what he's proposing and why he says his recommendations will not infringe on your right to bear arms.